I think Odie likes the snow. It's been a while. It's sleeting. We're kind of going in between sleet, freeze, and rain. Hey, puppies! What do y'all think? Yeah. Yeah. Go play. Go fun. Have fun in it. It's not like you get this very often. Not in Georgia. I knew Odie would love it. I'm surprised Lucy's liking it as much. She's kind of cold-natured. I gotta address the chickens, but I gotta go get their waters. We brought them in. So I need to go get one so that I can put it out. Know that it's not frozen because we covered all of our spigots outside because of the vortex and all that. So, but it really did snow in Georgia. There are some snowflakes along with the sleet and kind of freezing rain, and I think that's how the day's supposed to keep going. Oh my goodness, my poor greenhouse is covered. Luckily, it's reinforced with we have cattle panel arches to help reinforce that, so that's good. My garden is in total disarray, but I digress. I'll just be excited that we have snow in Georgia. Well, it was so cold outside that I had to come in and take advantage of my wonderful Christmas gift from my husband. So let me just tell you the backstory of this. This is not a cheap machine, so I'm fully aware of that. Prior to having this machine, John had found me like a commercial grade coffee maker that where it ground the beans and brewed a cup similar to this at Goodwill about 6 years ago. And he paid $20 for it. And we have used it all of these years. And it is amazing. It made amazing coffee. And over the last year, it has kind of been giving me some issues. And I feel like it's going out. They don't make it anymore. And so in passing, I had kind of mentioned to him that I was thinking about getting a new coffee machine. But I was like a little, like, I see all the different ones that you can get, and I don't have time for that. I want something that's simple and easy but brews an amazing cup. And that's what this does. If you guys are looking for a machine, again, it's a little costly, but goodness, is it a great cup of coffee. Hey guys, breakfast is so important. So, after playing in the snow and all the things on this snow day, I wanted to get a jump on some breakfast prep because one of the things that I'm finding with my new job is I have to be out of the house earlier. And so, if I have things prepped and easy to do, then I'm going to get a breakfast in. And I need breakfast because one, it helps me keep my blood sugar balanced from the overnight fast. The second reason is it helps me to stay full longer if I'm using a really good protein packed breakfast. So I have a couple of recipes I wanted to share with you today. Now, this first one is one I've been seeing everywhere on Reels. I've seen it on as a blog post on Facebook being shared and Instagram. And this is the nutritious blueberry cottage cheese breakfast bake. And I can link this recipe in the description. This is not my recipe. However, I changed it. Big shocker there. And I changed it because I didn't want to use, it called for you could use almond flour or a gluten-free flour. So I thought, well, I'm just going to use some freshly milled. And I did. I used some hard red wheat in this because that's what I had milled up to make my bread, my sourdough bread. And speaking of sourdough bread or any kind of freshly milled bread, that actually can make a really good breakfast with maybe you just have a boiled egg with it or something to add up that protein. Or a perfect food would be if you added like some yogurt or something with it. The if long as you're not doing a sweetened like a real sugar sweetened yogurt, but like a plain Greek yogurt or something like that, or a Bulgarian yogurt, those are really great fixes. So with this recipe, this is using cottage cheese, which is protein packed. And so it calls for 2 cups of cottage cheese, 2 cups of fresh blueberries, 3 large eggs. I used half a cup of freshly milled kamut. It calls for 1/4 of a cup of honey or maple syrup. I used my honey, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half of a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a pinch of salt. And it comes together so easy. You mix everything up. You want to put it in a greased baking dish. And you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And once you mix all of these in, the last step would be to fold in your blueberries. You put it into your pan, and then you're going to bake this for 30 to 35 minutes. It took 30 minutes in my oven, and it really kind of has like a custardy consistency. It is really delicious. It was plenty sweet. And I'm telling you, if you ate a piece of this, which what I ended up doing was cutting it up and packing it up so we could just heat individual servings, this would fill you up. Like, I ate this, and some days I don't get my lunch until later in the afternoon, depending on what we're doing at the center. And this kept me full, and it kept my blood sugar balanced. So I hope you'll give that one a try. I loved it. The next thing I want to show you, I'm making some quiche. Quiche is so easy to make. So many people make it difficult. You can do it any way you want. You can take whatever you have on hand. It could be vegetables. It could be meats and vegetables. It could just honestly be cheese and eggs if that's what you want. For this one, I had some ground mild sausage, and I had some peppers and some spinach, and onion in my refrigerator, and those are actually carrots. There are shredded carrots I had left over from another meal. So I put all that in my pan and I sauteed it up. Now you could put this in raw, not the sausage, you need to cook it. But the veggies you could do raw. But I wanted to saute mine in a little infused olive oil, so I did. And that essentially all you do is I split that amount up, and I only had one. It was a little under a pound of the ground sausage. And I just split them up between the 2 pie crusts. These are store-bought pie crust. You certainly could make your own, or you could just leave off the pie crust if you're trying to go more low carb. I've done that so many times, and you make it more like a frittata, because it's kind of the same principle. But the quiche part of it, the main thing that you have to have is you're going to need 4 eggs, 4 large eggs. And usually if you have half and half, 2 cups of half and half would work really great. I didn't even have that. I used 2 cups of whole milk. That's what I had on hand, so that's what I used. You put a little bit of salt and pepper, and I always add a little cayenne pepper and smoked paprika to it. It just adds a nice flavor, just a pinch, not much. And then you just mix that all up, and you're going to pour that over your other ingredients. So essentially think of it like a lasagna. You put the sauteed stuff or the raw stuff if you don't want to saute it into your pie crust, or into a greased pan if you're not doing a crust, to 350 degrees, and you're going to bake this for about 45 to 50 minutes depending. If you're doing a deep dish, it's probably going to be closer to 50. If you're doing without a crust, it may be done after 40. So you just want to check it. When you're cooking eggs, you want to make sure that you get them to temperature, whether you have meats or in them or not. When we're cooking eggs in this way, you really want to go ahead and get those up to, especially if you're going to be giving this to someone or giving it to someone who maybe are not feeling well, like if you're taking it as a gift. Like I said, I was making one for my parents, so they're considered a high-risk population because they're over 65. And so you want to get this dish up to 165 degrees, okay? So you want to make sure that you've got it all up to temperature. You can see I'm building it like a lasagna, and I just had a little Parmesan cheese there, and I put that on. I think it just gives a nice little flavor. Again, I'm just using cheeses I had in my refrigerator. I'm using some Italian cheese, some Swiss cheese. I think this one's actually a blend. and I'm splitting that package, which I think it was a 7 or 8 ounce package, between the two pies. And then I go ahead and layer another amount, another, until I use it all up. And I just want to tell you, this was like one of the first times I've used the carrot shreds. So good in this. Really enjoyed it. And so did my mom. She even said how great this was. She loved it. So anyway, you do that, and then I'm going to put a little bit more cheese, and then you're going to pour over your egg mixture that you have made. And then you're going to put it in your oven. You're going to bake it, like I said, for somewhere between 40 and 50 minutes, depending. And um, and that's it. It comes out. It's beautiful. It makes for a beautiful gift if you're taking it to someone. And it never fails. Like it never fails. And if you don't do this one with a crust, again, you may only make one depending on how big of a pan you're using. So it may look a little different, but you can still follow the base recipe. So the next thing I ended up doing was I had some leftover kale, I had some leftover mushroom and onions, and as you can see over there, you see that blueberry bake. Oh, so good, y'all. Well, anyway, I had this left over and I had some chicken thighs I had cooked previous. And so I cut those up. I sauteed all this up in a pan, and this made for a quick meal for us. This is you honestly, you could have eaten that for breakfast. I added some fresh apple and I added some infused cranberries with apple juice into it, just a few, not too many, and some diced almonds. That was so good. It would have been a very impactful breakfast if that's something you'd like to eat for breakfast. If not, it made for a great lunch, which is what we ended up using it for. And that was just finding stuff in my refrigerator and repurposing it. You can see I set my timer for 45 minutes for those quiche, and you will see in a moment how beautiful they came out. And so this is why it's so important, if you have some time on the weekend, to prep breakfast. You can slice these up, put them in dishes, and you can just grab a dish, or your loved one can grab a dish, and they can heat it up in the microwave if you want it hot. Quiche is actually very tasty when it's cold. Again, same with the cottage cheese bake. It was good warm, it was good cold. It's kind of a preference as to what you like, but it made for a very hearty, healthy, protein packed breakfast using things we had on hand. So it was cheap, and I hope you'll give it a try. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.